Welcome. My name is Lisa Coors, and this is the Lisa Coors Show. Today we're going to talk about something that is a pretty big deal in our community, nationwide, all over the world, and that's obesity. The title of my show today is Obesity, the New Disease. And if you were reading the paper around June 18th of this year, there was an article in the New York Times, and it was done by the AMA, the American Medical Association, and it declared obesity as an epidemic and as a disease. So the question you probably have is, how do I know I'm obese? And we're going to throw up some slides here in a little bit, and you can kind of see for yourself. There's some calculations you can do. The first thing is BMI, which is body mass index. So when you go to your doctor, you weigh in, and he does your height, he or she does your height, they have an actual scale. So we're going to throw that up there. So if you end up being 30% on that BMI scale or greater, that usually indicates obesity. You can calculate it on your own, as you see with the slide, weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. That's the old-fashioned way to do it. The other thing, some of you are sitting on the couch like, well, you know what? I'm not obese. I'm not overweight. I'm starting to build lean muscle. And the BMI, I heard, is a little, what is the word? It's a little experimental for people who are already fit, meaning it's not the best indicator. So we use body fat. That's the second thing. So you're going to see another slide we're going to put up for you. And in that picture is a bioimpedance meter. It's something you hold with your hands, and it goes through your body with a wave. And the number that it shows is your body fat. That is the percent of your body that's fat compared to lean. And we'll also show you on our slide, on your TV set today, what percentage, where you should be, what's healthy, what's not. So use those two different tools. So if you're someone who has never exercised, is debating, yeah, I may be overweight, I would go with BMI. But if you have been working out for a long time, you're building muscle, you want to go with body fat. What you need to know is fat and muscle. That's what body fat's all about. Muscle weighs more than fat. So the more muscle you have, the more you're going to weigh. So body fat is a little better if you're a little fitter. Okay, so the exciting part of my show today is we're going to talk, first of all, to one of our local residents, Jean Campbell. She has dealt with her weight her entire life. And what's so exciting is she's actually one of my clients. And she is going to tell you her story today about how she has lost weight and different diets she's tried. And I'm hoping you as the listener at home can learn something from her. And she's going to give you some ideas to take away. So I'd like to introduce Jean Campbell. So nice to have you on my show today.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yes, and there's a lot less of you than the first time I met you a couple years ago. She came strolling into my studio, and I was afraid she got on the treadmill, and I was afraid she was going to fall off. I was like, oh my gosh, she wants to lose weight, and we had lots of plans for that weight loss. And as you can see, how much weight have you lost in total?
Well, since I've been coming and working with you, I've lost 75 pounds.
Woo! 75! Awesome! Yay!
And what I'm even more proud of is I've kept it off for a year.
Wow!
So that's really an achievement for me.
That's a big deal. So, Jean, tell us your story. When you came to me a couple years ago, you said, I have been dealing with weight loss my whole life. Tell the viewers your story.
So that is true all my life, and I'm a little over 50, so I started dieting when I was about 15, and I think mostly because of genetics of my family. Everybody kind of has been dealing with weight, but I think too, peer pressure, all those sorts of things when you're 15. But that just kind of started me on this life path of trying to lose weight and I think poor self-image, those kind of things.
Sure.
But what led me to you, of course, is, I had throughout so many years tried so many different things and had lost weight many times, but could never keep it off.
Right,
and didn't have any exercise plan throughout my whole life. I mean, I was active as a kid, but not as an adult, no. So I think I was sort of at my wit's end, I think, 2.5 years ago. And of course, my daughter, who is involved with you, really kind of said, have you ever considered working with a personal trainer? And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I don't think I could commit to that type of thing.
I
really didn't think, it was something that I could do, but I was kind of at that point where
Mm-hmm.
I need to do something because I just wasn't healthy. I couldn't go upstairs without being winded. As when I started with you, I couldn't do one push-up.
Absolutely. Now you do like 25
now I can do
and
a
she
lot.
thinks nothing of it. Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, my daughter really encouraged me, and so I just thought, well, I'll give it one last try. And here I am 2.5 years later.
Yes.
And,
this
great.
is such a big deal. Yeah, her daughter is an intern with us, and she kept saying, I'm going to send my mom. And these are the famous last words we hear a lot. I'm going to send my mom. She needs to lose weight. Yeah, we've heard that. And then all of a sudden, mom shows up. So it was so cool. Tell us about the diets you have tried. Everybody sitting on the couch out there has tried a diet. If you have dealt with your weight, you have tried diets. What are some of the diets, or maybe one of them that sticks out in your mind that, wow?
Well, and nothing against these particular diet things because they work for a lot of people.
Sure.
But for me, I tried Weight Watchers. I tried Diet Workshop. I tried fasting. I tried, Atkins. And I lost weight on all those different diets. But the weight would always come back. So it was kind of like you go through this period of eating, less and trying to lose weight. So you're on a program.
Right.
But I didn't know when I had reached my goal.
Right.
I was like, what do I do now? So I never looked at it as a life-changing thing. I just looked at it as, okay, I'll do this for, this certain amount of time.
Right.
I'll lose the weight, and then I'll be good.
Yeah.
And it never worked that way. I would lose the weight, but then I would gain it all back plus another 20%.
No, I hear that all the time. And it's these diets. And I get these, I'm going to do this plan. And with a client, I always say, well, how long are you going to do this for? The rest of your life? Like the famous cabbage soup diet. That was so big years ago. Atkins was huge. And now it's like, wait a minute, maybe some common sense exercise and diet works, and we know that worked for you.
Yes.
What, if you could name one thing in your life, what needed to change? What was the number one thing that had to change for you to keep this weight off? If there'd be one. I know there's several, probably.
I think the main thing would be that I had to accept that I am not a person who can just eat whatever I want. And also realizing that food is just food.
Yeah.
It's not, I think a lot of times, and I did it too, used food for comfort and used food for all different reasons. Like food was my best friend.
Yes.
And food is just food. It's not.
It is just food.
And I think I had to come to the realization that food it doesn't have to be the central thing in my life. And I think it was. I used food for everything. Comfort when I was depressed, and it gives you that sense of comfort. It does, but it's just, that's fleeting. And it doesn't help you in the end at all. So I really had to come to terms with, I need to change my life. I need to change the way I look at food. What it means to me. I had to change all those things.
Excellent.
And I to be honest, I still work at that. It doesn't change overnight, and especially if you've gone throughout your whole life thinking of food as a person.
Yes.
It takes a long time. I mean, I think I'll be working on that always, just to, realize that food is just something I need to put in my body to survive.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me. It's not who I am. So.
That is so important, and I'm hoping the listeners at home are hearing this, because food is what I see from just not you, but other clients that come to me is food is like a person. It's like a way of life. They live for food, and food is given when you're depressed and when you're happy and whatever. So I think that was really important. And maybe if you're sitting at home, what is your view on food? I mean, is it just nourishment, or do you live to come home and just eat to make yourself feel better? So that's so important. I'm glad you shared that. You know, we're talking about obesity in general as well. I mean, all over the country, not just here in our city. What do you think is contributing to this epidemic? If you name a couple things.
Well, I think commercials on television.
Yes. Yeah.
My husband and I love to watch TV, and we've resorted to the DVR because that's a way to skip through the commercials.
Oh, wow. That's great.
You know, it's just at you everywhere. It's just, and I think there's a lot of messaging out there about healthy eating, but it's almost like it's overshadowed by, new fast food and, all the food that, and I don't want to keep going with bad foods and good foods, because food is just food.
Right.
But you're just inundated all the time with, fast food. I mean, you
Late
can't
at
drive
night.
down a road without, being tempted by something.
I agree.
And I think fast food restaurants maybe now are starting to get on the bandwagon a little bit more, but when every other commercial on television is about food, and it's not,
2 for
eating
1.
healthy, or it's all about, the fried foods and the, cookies and cakes, and it's just everywhere.
And they make it look so good, don't they? It's beautiful. It's, especially late at night, you're sitting there and you ate at 6 p.m. and all of a sudden there's this sundae. Or,
it's hard when you're just, we talk about all the time, like, why can't it be like alcohol? You can't really advertise alcohol too much, or cigarettes on television. Don't advertise food.
I know. They're killing us. They literally are killing us. And, I totally agree with you, because it's so hard late at night. You turn on that TV and it's just constant. Jean, tell us a little bit, to shift gears a little bit, what would you tell our listeners out there? There's several of you sitting out there that were in the same boat you were a couple years ago. What would you tell them to get them started in a healthy lifestyle, not a diet, but what would be a couple things you'd say to them?
I tend to always go back to one of the things you first told me when I started with you, and that was try not to eat out of a box.
Don't eat out of the box. That's the first one.
I try to keep that in mind. So when I'm at the grocery store, I'm not buying that quickie dinner I can put in the microwave, that's in a box. Granted, you're gonna, not everybody wants to make their own pasta. So but you look for those healthy alternatives, and I think being with you, I wouldn't have known like even how to start or how to look for things, but for instance, knowing you, I know about quinoa. So I go and I look for, I know that regular pasta, white starchy pasta might not be the best thing for me. So what are the alternatives? Well, quinoa makes a spaghetti noodle.
They do.
And it's delicious. You wouldn't know the difference. But you know that you're eating something that's much better for you. So that, first and foremost, I think we try not to eat out of a box.
Don't eat out of the box. You got it.
And I guess the other thing is activity. You've got to be active. You got to move. You got to get up and move. And there's things you can do. I am even try to be active when I'm sitting on the couch. I keep weights down by the side of my couch. And I love it. I will just pick them up periodically and just sit there and, do some, just to keep some active. I love that. So I love that. Activity is, and for me, because I never incorporated activity into my lifestyle
you were all
before.
Diets and no activity. Now
I'm convinced wholeheartedly that the activity portion, the exercise, the being fit, the going out and playing tennis or whatever you love to do, is the reason that I've kept the weight off.
Absolutely. What's your biggest challenge now?
Keeping the weight off.
Keeping the weight off, yes. And that inevitable, that plateau that everybody hits. Have you hit that?
I've hit that a couple times, but I think what we do together is you look to change your routine a bit. So you can get into those, of doing maybe the same exercises. Maybe you've discovered 5 or 6 exercises that you love to do and you tend to do them all the time, and you get into, I don't want to say a rut, but you get into that same, and any of you who have lost weight, you know that sometimes you can get to that place where you just can't seem to break that number that you are. And I think we found that by changing up your exercise routine or even changing what you eat, because I, like a lot of people, you know, I get stuck on things. Like, I love cereal, so I tend to eat cereal every single morning, where it's like, change it up. Have eggs, you know, have an English muffin, have oatmeal, have, you know. And when you do that, I think that can get you out of those plateau.
Aren't these fabulous ideas? I want to thank Jean Campbell for coming to my show today and telling her story. I hope you've learned a lot from Jean. I know I have. And stay tuned. We're coming back, and we're going to talk about childhood obesity in our community. Welcome back to the Lisa Coors Show. Today we're talking about obesity, which is the new disease. We just spoke with Jean Campbell, who talked about her weight loss journey. Now we're going to turn and we're going to talk a little bit about obesity amongst children. They're saying right now that 1 in 3 children in our schools in the state of Ohio are either overweight or obese. That's a scary statistic, and I brought today a guest, Scott Peters from Nagel Middle School, and I'm going to get this title right. You are the Health and Phys Ed Team Leader.
Correct.
So welcome to my show today.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for having me.
And how long have you been at Nagel?
Well, since it was built, so I think it's about 13 years.
13 years,
and I have been in education teaching-wise for over 22 years. So.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about
Feeling
yourself.
Old.
No, oh, you're not old. No. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, and where you went to school, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, originally I grew up on the west side, so I actually.
He's a west side guy. Awesome.
That's right, and I went to Wittenberg University.
Okay.
And when I graduated from there, I started at Bridgetown Junior High, which is a feeder for Oak Hills High School.
Sure, yeah.
But then coaching and teaching drew me to Anderson High School, and I started. Actually, I taught science first, and then my passion was to educate people and health and phys ed and fitness, and so that was my first degree, and so I ended up finding a teaching job through that at Nagel Middle School. So that's
13 years.
Yes.
Okay, so Nagel is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or 7th and 8th?
It's 7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. Yeah. So we have a lot of young teenagers you're dealing with. Okay.
Almost 1,200.
1,200 students, and you've been there 13 years. So excellent, excellent job. You know, we're going to talk about obesity today, and I know you see it in the schools. Let's talk in general in our community. What do you think is contributing to kids being overweight and obese? I mean, I see them. We go to the grocery store right in the neighborhood, and you see kids that are overweight. What do you think? Right.
Yeah, and it's really a big problem. I mean, we see a lot of people that are very active in our community, but throughout the whole, we see many kids that are not very active, many kids that struggle to understand the concepts of how to eat the correct way, that are very sedentary in their lifestyle. Sometimes the only physical activity they get is through phys ed classes.
Phys ed classes,
and so, you know, it's to the point where we really need to start educating and trying to get students involved in any way we can to be able to fight that.
Get them to move. Yeah. Oh man. How do I say this? What are the schools in our community dealing with, or how are they dealing with this? I mean, I know we're going to eventually talk about Nagel, but in general, what are our schools doing? Are there after-school exercise classes? Are there eating right classes? What are the schools doing in general?
Sure. In 2010, they tried to pass, actually did pass a Senate bill that was called Healthy Choices for Healthy Children. What it was trying to do was give schools an opportunity to help children that needed, especially that needed it. One of them was to develop a wellness committee district-wide. Another one was to have students report their physical activity per day.
Oh, wow.
And that was made an opt-in program, so it wasn't really mandatory. Another one was actually to track BMI, and that the school districts have the option to waive that.
Okay.
And then the last one was to implement standards, PE standards, which are things that are required for phys ed teachers to teach, the requirements.
Okay.
So that whole bill, when it was introduced, was really a huge stepping stone for us, because we saw you know, numbers like you were saying early on, that those numbers start, as we have implemented that, have started to actually level off.
That's good news.
And that's good news,
That's good
correct.
news, yeah.
The issue is that we're starting to also have a lot of mandates academically, and so we're finding a lot of schools are doing away with phys ed or allowing students to opt out of phys ed, and so they're in health for that matter, they're not getting the we like to call it the tools that they can use for a lifetime, as opposed to, you know, when you, a lot of people think about, when they think about phys ed, they think about rolling out the ball.
Sure, sure,
and things have really changed. We have, you know, a lot of things that are going on that are new now, and that whole curriculum was designed through that Healthy Choices Through Healthy Children.
That was really helpful, and I'm hoping the listeners at home got a better understanding that there is something being done.
Right.
There are some issues, and we're going to talk about some of the issues in a few minutes. So what could, in general, the schools do better? In general, you know, you look at communities in Cincinnati and Anderson Township, whatever township, what could they do better?
Right. I think an emphasis more on not allowing the academic piece to take over.
Wow.
You know, we always say there's only one you, and you can't trade it in like you can a car.
Sure.
And you have to take care of it, but you also have to learn how to take care of it the right way, especially when you get older.
Yeah.
And you have, a lot of times you don't have what you have in elementary or grade school or high school, where you have coaches or other people telling you what to do, or making your own food. When you get older, you have to make those choices for yourself.
And these kids don't know.
Exactly. And it's our job to try to teach them how to do that.
Wow. Yes, because if parents are working, two parents are working, and they don't have time in the schools, kids spend most of their time at school.
Right.
So you guys are teaching.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Wow.
So we would hope that the elimination of health or physical education classes, you know, that would only increase the odds of students and children to be obese.
Absolutely. I don't know if any of our listeners have ever gotten to go to Negel Middle School, but you guys have an impressive gym.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Can you tell them about the equipment that's in your gym?
Sure. We have written some grants that we have fitness equipment. It's kind of difficult because we have to store it in a closet and then we pull it out almost every day.
There you go. Yeah.
But I mean, we have a lot of students in our classes, so we like to give them a lot of variety. And one of the varieties is using those fitness pieces, those fitness equipment, to teach them different concepts. And then it's almost science-based, where they're using a fitness concept and seeing how it works with the
That's
the
amazing stuff you guys are doing. And listeners, by the way, they have these TRX type things, like suspension trainers, on their walls. I can only afford one in my studio, and they have a bunch of them. That's impressive that you are that state of the art to know the latest and greatest exercises out there.
Right,
too.
and we actually we were able to purchase those through a person that I met at a convention. He's from Wisconsin, and he kind of made his own equipment for phys ed people. So it was very cost effective, and some of it was donated, some of it we got through grant money, and you know, it's really neat to see the students come in, instead of, you know, oh man, I have to do this again. They're like, oh yes, I can do this now.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great. It's just so much fun. Tell me a little bit, when I visited with you last year at Negel, you had talked about some programs that Negel had done.
Right.
Talk about a couple, and basically focused on fitness, education, eating right. Talk about maybe one or two of those programs.
Sure. We have one program that is sponsored by the NFL, actually. It's called Play 60.
Wow.
And they have a lot to do with not only physical activity but also nutrition and eating.
Wow,
Actually,
okay.
this year we're trying to implement a club. We're going to call it Fit Hawks. It's a wellness club, and it's basically generated and run by students. We have one parent. Her name's Bridget Chamberlain. She does a great job in the elementaries.
Awesome.
We're starting to write a grant this year. The focus is breakfast and then physical activity breaks inside of the classroom. So teachers, we would develop some curriculum for the teachers to take a 5-minute break when you're sitting in the classroom in a desk and chair all the time. You kind of want to get up and move, and it's actually proven to help people learn and stay focused. And so that's one of the really cool programs that we have going. Another one that's just starting up is called a Learning Readiness Program. We're trying to take children that have difficulties in math or reading, and we're putting them into our phys ed classes. After 20 or 30 minutes of vigorous to moderate activity, there actually have been studies done, a book written as well, that they're able to absorb and learn more information. And so the connectivity, they call it miracle grow for the brain. Miracle grow for the brain. Is exercise.
I think some of us adults need this stuff. I mean, I know when I exercise and then I go to do some work, I think clearer. And I'm sure some kids, if they have ADD or ADHD, this might be a good program for them as well.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Okay.
And I just need the truth here. So if I was a kid at Nagel and I went to lunch at Nagel, what would I eat? What are my choices of food? And I'm just asking you, okay?
I guess that would depend on the day, huh?
It would depend on the day. How about Friday?
We actually have a going joke. We call it the brown lunch.
The brown lunch.
And the brown lunch is a very popular lunch.
Okay.
It starts with chicken nuggets and waffle fries, and then we have chocolate milk. So all of those brown items are in there. But
it's brown. Oh my gosh, that's great. And well, never mind. Okay, chicken nuggets. Okay,
I think there might be a biscuit in there.
And a biscuit. How about the gravy? It's brown. Just smush it all up. Okay.
Right, but we actually the lady that's in charge of all of the food service, she's really very active in trying to promote healthy items and very open to learning about nutrition and having students actually hopefully developing their own side dishes and things like that. But I would say there were probably about 50%. I do cafeteria duty as one of my things. 50% are buying lunch and 50% are packing. Some of them are making great choices and others are not. And so there's a wide variety at lunch, and we try to stress, and I even joke we have little rewards for people that are eating healthy lunches.
That's great. That's great. So one last question for you. If you were to create a program at Nagel or any school on fitness, on eating right, what would it be? If you could have anything you want to create to save these kids in the long run from being obese, or if they're obese now, to getting fit, what would you do?
Right. There's, I guess the best way to do it was be able to just continue to have students be active, have them, and not that it would try to be required, but to have the ability to have students, maybe even create their own fitness courses and classes and take ownership of it. Take ownership, wow. Well, I really appreciate you being here today, because I'm from the West Side. That's good. And I grew up over there, and not having kids, I don't know how this all works over here, but visiting Nagel is just always such a great visit every time I go. So thank you for sharing. You're welcome. And thank you to the listener for being with us today. I hope you learned a lot. And again, this is Lisa Coors. I'm from Coors Core Fitness, and this is the Lisa Coors Show. Thanks for joining us.